All right, welcome everybody to Mind Your Business podcast. This is your host, Imran. I have my esteemed guest here, guru in the real estate world, founder and CEO of Rehab with Ehab, and also one of the inspirations actually behind this podcast. He's been my mentor for almost 3 years, and his teachings on mindset and mental toughness have really made me what I am today. So I just want to welcome Ehab and thank him for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah, excited to have you. Have you were definitely a inspiration behind this. So I'm excited to get your take on mindset. Just a reminder to our audience, this podcast is very much geared towards what mindset can do for you in terms of driving success in the business world, whether you be an entrepreneur or a corporate tycoon. Um, all these all these things on mindset will help you. So let's dig in, Ehab. Tell us a little bit about your journey from the consulting world to real estate.
Yeah. Just like a lot of people, I had the dream in my younger years of being financially free and living life on my terms, and went on a journey to figure out how to do that. Everything I had experienced and researched told me that real estate was the way to do it because you hear about 80% of the world's millionaires and billionaires made their money in real estate. So rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, I said, let me just follow the path of our forefathers who have already done it, right? And so that was how I went down the path of real estate. And then just through a lot of trials and tribulations of different ways of investing, from wholesaling to flipping to landlording, I finally stumbled upon the way that actually got me to financial freedom, which was my short-term rental and midterm rental strategy, where I buy properties, I fix them up, and I turn them into amazing, cool Airbnbs. So that's where I'm at today.
And that's super exciting. I know, and the cool thing is you took that and then you started helping others do that too. How many folks would you say that you're helping these days, at least in your rehab with Ehab education system?
Yeah, in the Rehab with the Ebb Academy, we have about 110 students. And it was important for me to put that together because I was talking to so many people who also wanted the same thing. They wanted financial freedom. They wanted to figure out how to get out of the rat race. They wanted to live life on their terms. And when I finally figured out the formula, I said, I have to bring this to the world to help others get there as well.
And I'm glad you did because I'm one of those 110 and I definitely have benefited tremendously from it. Not just financially, but also from the mindset. I think honestly, if you even took away, even if I were to break even, which I haven't, I've done decently well. I'd say just the mindset piece alone was worth its weight in gold. So thank you for that. Yeah, never really get to sit down and thank you enough, but that's been a tremendous help. How did you keep obstacles from kind of getting you down or stopping you from, reaching your goals? Why didn't you quit when when you kind of were starting that journey? Because that's something I know I face all the time. I have a lot of colleagues, friends telling me, "Hey, why don't you take the safe route? Why don't you go get a job? Why don't you, and I picked the entrepreneurial route."
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the biggest things that comes down to people's success is having the right perspective, and I think knowing that when you're going down the path less traveled, right, the path that most of the society doesn't want to go down, which is the entrepreneurial path, you know that number one, most of the people that you're going to run into are maybe not going to understand what you're trying to do or agree with what you're trying to do because they haven't done it and they're comfortable just kind of working the 9 to 5, And so when I embarked upon this journey, I knew that I was signing up for obstacles and I was signing up for challenges, but it was going to be, to use the cliche, short-term pain for, really long-term gain, right? And so
100%.
that's
100%.
exactly how I approached it. And the scary part, the real scary part in life is when you're not facing obstacles, you're
Hmm.
not facing challenges, because that means you're not growing, right?
You're
You're not
definitely not
doing
growing.
anything differently,
You're
and
not
you're
growing.
not you're not growing.
Right. And what is it you told us that live 5 years like somebody, nobody else, so you can live the rest of your life like nobody else, something along those lines, right?
Yeah. Entrepreneurship is,
Yeah.
living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you can
Yeah.
live the rest of your life like most people can't.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And
Mhm.
I definitely always remind myself of that. Um, I know this is kind of generic, but if you had to package it into a few words, what kind of mindset does it really take to be successful? Where does that grit come from? What are the kind of the key elements that you found, not only from your own experience, but from teaching so many other people? Right.
Yeah, well, I think discipline is certainly an important part of it, and consistency, and staying focused, having a big why. Those are the things that kind of carry you forward when you're running into challenges. And I think if you have a strong why and you apply just some consistency to it and discipline, you're going to start getting results. And as soon as you start getting results, those are the things that really help propel you forward, right? Because nothing is a better motivator
Mm-hmm.
than real life results, real life
100%.
success, right? And so when you even those little successes of finding that first deal or finding a great partner in a bank to finance your deal, all those little wins that you get along the way, those are the things that keep you motivated and keep you moving forward all the way until you get to maybe the finish line of getting that first deal live or making that first profit on your property. And that experience right there is what's going to motivate you to keep going and doing that over and over and over again.
No, no, that's amazing. Um, I remember you telling us when we started that why piece was really, really incremental. Just knowing why are you doing this and then reminding yourself. And then I think the second thing you told us was about every day is not going to be the same. There's going to be good days, bad days, but if you're consistent and you're disciplined and you just go out there and do what you know is going to work, that the payoff will come. So definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Um, so when you see people stop or quit pursuing their dreams or goals, what do you think the main reasons are?
I think the main reason why is they didn't have a strong enough why, right? Because, there's no business, there's no challenge, there's no change you can do that isn't going to be difficult, right?
Yeah,
That isn't going to be uncomfortable. And so, depending on how strong your why is going to determine how far you're going to be able to carry through or persevere through those challenges. If you don't have a really strong why, then if it's a really, really weak why, then the first obstacle that comes along is probably going to throw you off course. So the first
exactly.
person that's going to tell you this thing doesn't work is going to just kind of derail your whole plan. But the stronger your why, the further and further you'll go. And if you have a really huge why, those are the people that create huge successful businesses because they have a why that's trying to impact the whole world. And
Yeah.
that's when you see companies like Amazon and Google and really big companies like that succeed.
Yeah, I know one of the reasons for me setting up my digital marketing and IT firm were the very fact that I was just feeling so much pain in that in the corporate setting. And and part of the reason I also wanted to do real estate is I wanted to have just be my own boss. And the pain that I felt generally from not having control over my life and having you know, a boss to answer to per se were definitely part of my why. So I couldn't agree more. Um, what advice do you think you can give someone that's struggling a little bit with mindset right now? Maybe they haven't even figured out their why yet. They're still on the journey to understanding what their why is. What is what is some advice that you can give to someone that's struggling there?
Yeah, I think the number one piece of advice is that, mindset is not a switch that you just turn on and off. And I think that was something that was really eye-opening for me and a lot of people that I've coached over the years is that when you practice having a strong mindset, which means like being disciplined, being consistent in every aspect of your life, then it's going to translate into your business too.
Hmm.
You can't, somebody who tells themselves that they are going to try to be consistent and go exercise at the gym and they don't commit to their decisions and their
Hmm.
plan in that aspect of their life is going to have a hard time committing to the commitments and decisions that it takes to build a business.
100%.
So
Yeah.
the more you can practice being consistent and being mentally strong, whether it's your eating healthy or exercising or keeping your commitments to being on time when you're meeting your friends, or following through on your promises you might make to your spouse or your kids. Anything that you can do to reinforce discipline and consistency is going to help you with your business as well.
Yeah, and I'll definitely add to that. I think you also encouraged us to do reading. For me, my consistent action was reading a lot of mindset books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Millionaire Next Door. Those really got me thinking, and forming my why. So that's at least for me, that's what my consistent activity was at the beginning. I promised myself every day I would read a little bit and pursue my journey, but at least seeing what others are encouraging me to do. So I think that's great. Do you have mentors? Do you recommend mentorship? I mean, obviously you have an academy, so I'm sure your answer is going to be a resounding yes, but but do you have mentors as well? And what are your thoughts on mentorship and why it's important?
Yeah, I have had mentors in the past. And why mentorship is so important is because when you can attach yourself to somebody who's already done that, then you you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? And a lot of
Exactly.
times the problem is that when you're working on something, it's very difficult when you're really in the trenches to see what's wrong, right? And somebody who is just looking at it from the outside, who's been there and done that, can very easily look at your situation and say, let's make this change here, let's make that change here, and
Right.
so that you can start getting better results. I think people shy away from mentorship because they think they know a lot already. And
Yeah.
the thing about mentorship, and there are people who do, but the thing about mentorship is that a lot of times it's not going to be resounding, magnificent advice that you're going to get. It might
Yeah.
just be small, subtle changes that make a big difference. Like again, it's kind of like hiring. I go back to like weight loss. I mean, we all pretty much know that if you want to lose weight, you don't want to eat French fries and cheeseburgers every day, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know the general principles, right? But if you were to go to like a dietitian or somebody who's an expert in that, they might give you very subtle things to eat differently or different times of the day,
Mhm.
or changing up your macros or something that's gonna have a big impact on you.
Yeah.
And so while we all generally know the right things to do, it's the small details that a mentor can really help you figure out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, the best part was of mentorship was it made the fear factor just a little bit more tolerable. That I knew that, hey, if I do get stuck, I can call on yourself or any of the 109 other folks that are in the same boat with me. We're on the ship together, so we're not alone. So that's also a really great thing. Then I would highly recommend anybody that wants to succeed and has a high fear factor that they join up to some kind of academy or program like Ehab's.
Yeah.
Um, is there any uh good advice that you've gotten from a mentor that you've kind of carried on through your academy or programs or anything that you'd like to share?
Well, the best advice I got was really helping me figure out the right real estate strategy to build wealth. And, one of the big mistakes I made in real estate investing was where I was flipping houses because that was what the HGTV shows were doing,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
making money. And surprisingly, that was a huge mistake because I didn't realize that those were not wealth building activities, even though I was still making money. But my mentor at one point said to me, if you really want to start building wealth and if you really want to be able to exit the rat race one day, you've got to start owning real estate. Stop flipping it, start keeping it, and start building a portfolio that will eventually appreciate. It'll be worth a lot of money one day, and it will start paying you consistently every single month for your efforts. And so that was the big eye-opening moment for me, which caused me to buy my first rental property. And ultimately, I went on to buy several homes that I was keeping as long-term rentals. And those were the steps that eventually turned me on to small apartments, and small apartments that I turned into Airbnbs, and kind of led me to the journey I'm at today.
So not to get too specific about real estate, obviously it's the mindset show, but do tell us like how your strategy, what your current strategy is right now in the real estate market. I know you've shifted a little bit from single family homes to more multi-units. And I
Yeah.
know you just also had a great win with your the property, your 16 plex. So if you can tell us a little bit about the audience about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I realize that if you don't have a whole lot of money, then you have to leverage your sweat equity.
Hmm.
So I buy small apartments, anything from 6 units to 16 units, and I renovate them. I use my sweat equity with my contractors and my team to buy and renovate them. And then when we're done, we refinance them and we turn them into really cool Airbnbs. And I found that because they generate so much money, if you operate them as an Airbnb for a year or two and then you go sell them, then you can
Hmm.
actually sell them as a business and have a really big payday.
Yeah, I know. That definitely has. I mean, I'm seeing it with my own eyes transformation. I was there when you were putting the 16 plex together, and just watching the journey has been really inspiring for me. Hopefully, I can do something like that myself. Um, I guess as we start to kind of wrap up here, uh, what advice would you give for people that have a lot of fear right now? And they're a big part of their journey to becoming successful or an entrepreneur or successful in their careers. When fear is a big factor, how do you mitigate that fear? How do you handle that fear? What are some things that they can do to kind of set themselves up for a more consistent and successful journey?
Well, first off, you've got to find a powerful why, and your why has to be bigger than the fear, right?
Okay.
So think about all the people that are going to benefit from your success, right? Not just yourself, but all the people that you can help as
Mhm.
well. One of the expressions I like is you're not just building your dreams, but you're building other dreams around you too, you know?
Yeah.
And so create a really big why and really dream as big as you can about that. And then one of the most important parts of being successful is having great self-awareness. And so you have to ask yourself, where is this fear coming from? And what do I need to do to overcome that fear? And as you mentioned, sometimes it's like hiring the right coach to help hold your hand so that you're not you're not going to make that catastrophic mistake that's going
Mhm.
to
Right.
ruin your life or ruin the life of your family, right?
Yeah.
And if that's what it takes, then it might take investing a little bit of money to overcome that, right?
Yeah.
And it's that
100%.
short-term pain of investing in a mentor so that you can have the long-term gain, right? It's the reason
Exactly.
why people hire mentors, the reason why people hire personal trainers, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're paying to help you learn and not make big mistakes and not waste your time, right? So, be really self-aware, have a strong why, be aware of where your fear is coming from, what your fear is, and then put a plan in place to mitigate that fear so that you are successful and you don't make a catastrophic mistake.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I again, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. It's been amazing journey with you, and to have you on a podcast talking about mindset is something that I had not thought I would be doing. Um, uh, Doing this podcast itself is a leap. Uh, overcoming my fears. And it's been amazing. So I'm doing a lot of things, guys, that I never thought I'd do, and that's a lot of it's thanks to this guy on the call here. So thank you so much, and thank you for joining us
My
again.
pleasure.
Everybody, if you like what you see, please definitely like our page, uh, like our page on YouTube, and share with others. Again, thank you everybody for joining us and being part of this podcast. Have a good one.